everybody, it's Cheyenne and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be about perio charting. Now, as a dental assistant, this is something that we do quite often to help the hygienist with, and it's actually something that I don't remember learning in school. I didn't learn this until I got into an office and I had to assist with a hygienist, and she kind of had to explain to me how to do this. But once again, I'm not a hygienist. I don't specialize in this type of stuff. I just have a role as a dental assistant sometimes to help with charting of this stuff. So if I explain something incorrectly, and if you know like the true meaning behind it, please leave comments down below and let everyone know, let me know. I'm just gonna explain it to the best of my ability and just what I've learned as a dental assistant. Hygienists are the ones that actually specialize in, healthy gums and healthy teeth and calculus and all these special type of readings that they do and all that kind of stuff. So I have this piece of paper here, and I'm going to insert a clip later in the video of me filling this out and kind of explaining how to fill this out. But I wanted to talk about some things on this piece of paper real quick. This is something that is used, was used before there was digital charting, but it also is still used in offices if you want to fill it out beforehand and then enter it into the computer. But you do want to get rid of this paper afterwards because you don't want to leave a piece of paper sitting around with patient info on it. So you want to make sure that you do put this in the shredder afterwards. But this is a perio exam. So as a dental assistant, yes, we do assist the dentist, but there are times where you are going to be assisting with the hygienist. And not in all offices, but a lot of offices, you are going to help the hygienist with x-rays, cleaning her room, also with perio charting or charting on the computer. And a perio chart is something that the hygienist does to determine the patient's gum health, what type of cleaning they're going to be doing, if the cleaning that they're giving that patient is helping with their gum health, all that good stuff. So your perio chart is going to have, of course, your upper and lower teeth. It's going to be the facial readings of the teeth, so the front surface of the teeth, and then the lingual, which is the tongue side of the teeth. And the hygienist is going to use something called a perio probe, and I'll insert in picture here to get these measurements. So as a dental assistant, you're going to go in and the dental hygienist is going to be reading off these numbers to you, and you're going to be entering them either into a computer or on a piece of paper. And you want to make sure that you're keeping up with the hygienist. So if you need to ask them to go a little bit slower, if you're just learning or something like that, I'm sure they'd be happy to. But you want to make sure that you're getting an accurate reading of these measurements. So make sure you're coordinating with your hygienist, that you're keeping up with them or whatever it may be. But anywho, so there's quite a bit of info on this piece of paper, so I'm trying to get it all out there. So right here on this side of the piece of paper is basically what you're going to be measuring. Now, I personally don't ever do the MG defect, or I think that means calculus, the CAL. Not sure, I'm not a hygienist, but I personally have never gotten those measurements from a hygienist. They usually just give you the PD, which is the periodontal depth, is the pocket depth of the tooth, gum recession, the furcation measurement, blood, and then it's suppuration, which is like pus or something like that. And then you have plaque, and then you have mobility. Those are the most common readings that I enter for the hygienist. So the hygienist will start usually with the pocket depth of the tooth. Now that's 3 measurements per side of the tooth. So 3 facial readings and 3 lingual readings. She's going to start usually on the facial side of the tooth, and she's going to go all along the facial and give you 3 numbers per tooth. Now this reading can range anywhere from a 0 to a 12. Good healthy gums are 1 to 3. So, and I don't think I've ever heard of a 0. So maybe it's just 1 to 12. But a healthy gum reading is 1 to 3. So most commonly it's going to be 3, 2, 3. Maybe some 4s thrown in there if someone that hasn't had a cleaning in a while, or if they have some plaque buildup. But mostly she's going to be like tooth number 1, 3, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3. and you're gonna be typing this in or entering it on this piece of paper. And like I said, you can go all the way through the facial, and then she's gonna loop around into the lingual side. So usually they'll drop down into number 16 lingual, all the way through number 1 lingual. Now, with that being said, every hygienist is a little bit different. So some hygienists will do it this way and then come back to like the gum recession or the mobility. Some hygienists do it in quads. Some hygienists do like all the readings on one tooth, move on to the next tooth, all the readings on that tooth. You're gonna learn whatever your hygienist does prefer. But if it's easier for you to do a certain way, like don't be afraid to tell your hygienist like, hey, can we do it this way? It's easier for me to enter it. Usually they're just thankful to have someone in there to help with perio charting. So just communicate with your hygienist, see how they enter it, ask if they could do it a different way, if it's difficult for you to do it a certain way or whatever it may be. But every hygienist is different and they will enter it a little bit differently, but this is the most common way. And then they will go down to the lower teeth and do the same thing. 3 readings per tooth on the facial, 3 readings per tooth on the lingual. And then once that's completed, you'll start to go through and you'll be starting to take other measurements. So the next most common measurement is the gum recession. So that is, I'll show you my model here. That is if there's any recession here above this tooth, if there's any root of the tooth showing, that's gum recession. So they will measure that with their perio probe and give you a reading. I'm actually not quite sure the highest reading you can have on that. Most commonly it's like a 1 to a 3. I have seen some 5s. I actually wonder if it does go up to a 12 like the other readings do. So if you're a hygienist and you know, or if you're an assistant, you know, let us know down below. But that is gonna go on your gum recession line. So that is like in the middle of the line, you just put your little measurement because that's gonna be in the center of the tooth, that measurement. So you just put a 1, a 2, a 3, and usually the hygienist will be like number 12 has 1 recession on the facial. And then number 13 on the lingual has a number 2 recession on the lingual side. They'll kind of tell you where it goes, facial or lingually. So the next one is furcation. So furcation can be a little bit more complicated. The furcation, again, is a number that the hygienist is gonna give you. I think it only goes up to a 4. So you actually write like F1, F2, F3, or F4 on a tooth. So furcations are only on the molars. They are not on anterior teeth, only the molars. And furcation's a little bit tricky. So the facial side of the molars are gonna have 1 reading, and it's gonna go right into the center. So like on here, I put number 15 on the facial side has F2 as the furcation. But on the lingual side, there's going to be a distal and a mesial reading. So there's actually gonna be 2 different measurements for the lingual side. And that's because a molar sometimes has 3 roots, right? So when they're measuring the facial, I'm gonna try to show this to you guys. So we'll pretend these are our 3 roots here. Okay, so we'll pretend these are the 3 roots on our tooth, right? So when they do the facial side, it's actually this part of the tooth. So they go right in between. My thumb's kind of in the way. So this is 2 roots back here, and this is 1 root, right? So when they measure the facial, it's actually a measurement that goes right in between this root. But when they go to the lingual side, this root's sticking out. So there's a measurement in here and in here. So the mesial and distal measurement. I hope that makes sense. I'll throw up a picture here to kind of explain it. But yes, on the lingual side, there is sometimes 2 readings, and on the facial, there's going to be 1 reading. So she will give you that. And then the next reading is the blood, any bleeding levels, and then the suffocation. Which I hope I'm saying that right. Maybe it's suffocation. Again, not a hygienist. But bleeding is when they're taking these measurements, if there's any bleeding of the gums that are occurring. So they'll tell you where that is. It might be like 4 mesial on the facial or 5 distal on the lingual. And basically you just put a B there if there is bleeding. See the little B there. So this bleeding happened on 2 facial. So I put bleeding. You would write an S if there was any pus. So this usually happens if they have like really deep pockets or they have an infection. An S, the suffocation, means there's some pus there. So you'd write an S for that. Now plaque is the next reading, and you mark that by just putting P's there. And again, they'll tell you, they could say plaque throughout the entire mouth. There also could be bleeding throughout the entire mouth. A really common area for plaque is, you know, the lower interiors, the lingual. A lot of people get buildup back there, or the facial part of it. Molars are really common place for plaque. Just places that are hard to reach with a toothbrush, or that people get buildup on, but they will tell you where that goes. So she might say, or he might say something like 8 facial has plaque, or lower interior linguals have plaque. So you'd put P's there. The next reading is mobility. So that's a measurement of how loose a tooth is. Again, I'm not sure how high you can go. I think I've seen as high as a 4 or 5, but if you're a hygienist, please let us know, or a dental assistant. But she'll give you a reading. So she will say something like tooth number 1 has mobility, or like tooth number 2 has a 2 mobility, or 3 has a 4, or, you know, 5 has a 2. That's just how loose that tooth is. And usually it's just at the top here, and there's only one reading for that per tooth. And there's mobility, and then you just write the mobility up here. So yes, this is a lot of information. This is just kind of like a quick breakdown of it. But as you start out as a dental assistant and you are helping a hygienist, you kind of get the hang of it because you're doing it quite often with them. But don't be afraid to ask questions. You know, don't be afraid to ask the hygienist to slow down a bit if you're having trouble keeping up with her, because she wants her numbers to be accurate. And this is how she determines what type of cleaning that patient is going to get, their perio level, if they're going to be doing deep cleanings or not. And then, you know, if she has been doing deep cleanings, if there's been an improvement in this person's mouth and things like that. And also, this is important for the dentist to look at, because someone that has severe perio, so if they have really deep pockets or a really loose tooth, that tooth might need to be extracted, or whatever it may be. So you want to make sure you're keeping up with them and charting this accurately. And then I don't know if I said, so the pocket readings can go up to a 12. So a healthy, normal, well, I don't want to say normal, but a healthy mouth is usually 1 to 3. And then you might have some 4s in there, you know, like on your back wisdom teeth, if you're not brushing it there, you have some plaque buildup. So that means like 1 to 3 is healthy, 3 to 5 is like mild perio, and then 5 to 7 is moderate perio. So they're probably gonna need some deeper cleanings. And then 7 to 12 is like severe perio, like the teeth, there's been a lot of bone loss, you know, there's a lot of pocketing, there's probably some mobility and things like that. So they're definitely gonna need some deeper cleanings, and then products to help them tighten up that tissue and to keep those pockets clean. So yeah, I know that's a lot of info, but I am going to insert a little video here of me filling out this piece of paper. And again, a lot of systems at dental offices are different, but the perio charting is something that you may have to do as a dental assistant. So you kind of just want to get familiar with it. And then, like I said, don't be afraid to ask questions. But yeah, I'll insert this video here, and I hope it helps.
All right, so here is that piece of paper. At the top of this piece of paper, those are just a different type of exams that your hygienist or doctor will be doing. So I just circled comprehensive, which means a new patient exam, a full exam. And on the sides, those are what we talked about. Just the perio depth, the gum recession, furcations. And then of course you have your facial and lingual on the top and the bottom. And don't mind that little thing cut out on top. That's just the office that I work at. So I took that off the piece of paper. So here I'm just showing you how you would write the numbers or type them in on the computer. So as you're writing or typing these numbers, the hygienist is going through and she's saying like 323, 423, 323, 212, 212, 212, 212 as you're typing and writing. And the 3 readings are the distal, the direct, and then the mesial on each tooth. So you'll go through and do all the facials. And of course you will skip any teeth that are missing or that the patient doesn't have. And then you'll go and swing around and go to the lingual. So you'll start on the facial of number 1, go all the way across, and then come back around to 16 lingual. And then go from 16 to 1 on the lingual side. Again, with the hygienist reading numbers out to you like 323, 323, 323, 423, whatever the readings may be. So I'm just going through and filling it out. And then once you finish the top, the hygienist is going to go down to the bottom and do the same, but we're going to skip that and just focus on the upper right now. So the next reading she's going to give you is the gum recession. And I had messed up, so there's a little like scribbly there, just ignore that. So the gum recession is going to go on the direct. So you're going to put it in the middle of the square. So she'll go through and be like, number 4 facial has a number 1 for gum recession. Number 8 has a number 2. Number 12 has a number 1. And then she'll give you the lingual. So now we're going to move on to furcation. So again, remember from the video that the facials are going to have 1 reading, and the lingual only on the upper molars will have 2 readings because of the 3 roots. And the readings are usually F1 through F4. So I'm writing those in right now. And you can see that on the facial I'm putting 1 reading, and on the lingual I'm putting 2. Okay, so this is the blood or bleeding points. So the hygienist will be, say, like the direct facial of number 2 is bleeding, or on the facial for mesial, or I put there the direct facial of 15 is bleeding. And then I put the supplication on number 8, direct lingual, and that just means pus. Now we're going to go through and put plaque. So you're going to put P's where the hygienist says to put the plaque levels. So she'll tell you a reading. Looks like I put number 5 through number 8 on the facial. There's plaque. Now the next thing we're going to do is the mobility. So again, that's how loose a tooth is, and the hygienist will give you that reading. So number 8 has a number 2 mobility. Number 9 has a number 1. And then you would go down to the lowers to finish that with the hygienist.
All right, guys. Well, I hope this video was helpful. And if you have any questions or comments or anything, please leave them down below. I love reading your guys' comments. And have fun with perio charting. It is very, 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 very important. And I'm sure hygienists love having the help with this charting, because I have worked in offices where they do this all on their own, and it's a lot to do on your own. So props to hygienists for having to get all these measurements. And if they have to do it on their own, it's actually really sad, because it's a lot of numbers and a lot of charting. And there are certain programs that help hygienists with that if they don't have an assistant. I worked in an office where they had like a little headset, and they would actually just speak the numbers, and then the computer would just chart it for them. But there's so many numbers. So help your hygienist if you have time, or if you can. They really, really do appreciate it. And yeah, I hope you guys found this video helpful, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.